Good afternoon, and welcome to the UBS Digital Lounge. As part of our Digital Insights program during Art Basel in Hong Kong, we are pleased to now share a conversation between Hong Kong-based gallerists Arthur de Villepin, co-founder of Villepin, and Calvin Hoy, co-founder of 3812 Gallery. Titled 21st Century Collectors, From Passion to Profession, the conversation will discuss themes of personal vision, tradition, and future trends when it comes to art collecting. Please enjoy.
Hi, I'm Calvin Hoy from Hong Kong. My gallery's name is called 3812 Gallery. I also set up a platform called Ink Now to promote contemporary ink art globally. And I'm also curator, collector, and also art consultant for private and corporate clients, including MGM Cotai. Recently, in the last few years, I curated the chairman's collection for Miss Pansy Ho, and we are going to launch a big exhibition in Macau very soon.
And I'm Arthur de Villepin. I'm also a collector and a passionate of art. I've created very recently a gallery with my father called Villepin, and this gallery promotes art in Hong Kong and in Asia, making the bridge between Europe and other parts of the world. We have started with an exhibition of Saoki, then on to the Second School of Paris, which are all the artists that were in Paris after the Second World War. And we are preparing now an exhibition of Myung-gi Kong, a Korean artist, that will be quite something. And I will start off with, I guess, the first question for this talk. And I thought that actually I was really interested to know if you would have preferred, because my situation is a special one, but would you have preferred to have inherited a collection or would you have preferred to actually start from scratch?
Well, I am quite happy to start from the scratch, like what I'm doing, because especially in the last 10, 15 years, the art market is really vibrant in Asia, in China, in Hong Kong, and also before we hardly had the opportunity, like when we grew in Hong Kong, to get in touch with so many, the diversity of art that we're in touch. We have the opportunity to build this.
You started when? When did you start the collection?
Around beginning of 2000.
Would you say you started at the same time you created the gallery, or it went actually before?
Before. Oh. So at that time it was quite natural, and also really like personal passion.
Personal passion, but like no parents or no education brought you there. It's you on your own actually, which I'm quite fascinated of.
More or less purely by my personal vision. But then from when I was young, I'm more into music actually.
Oh.
So that's my family grooming. So, so not visual arts. Yeah.
One of them is involved with music?
I think we have the opportunity, all my siblings, to learn music together. And then we have different instruments. So that was the beginning of to get in touch with art. Yeah. But then visual art at that time in Hong Kong is not as vibrant as now. Yeah, but then that's also the way that we can just search it and to look for it. And so I remember when I really started to collect, I really looked for something like modern art, like Miro or even earlier Kandinsky. But of course, I couldn't afford to buy it. I bought prints at that time.
Yeah, that was the way.
Yeah. But to me, it's actually quite like the colors, the rhythms. It's very musical to me as well. So to me, more or less, when we appreciate art, it's also something that connects with your, like, not just about passion, it's about how the art, how the creators, through brushstrokes or through musical notes to touch your heart. So I think something which is very pure, no commercial agenda at that time, is just purely for collecting just what we like or what I like. And so that's the way I started.
You started with like the music passion. That's very interesting because most people think that you would have kind of an influence on inspiration from start that would have kind of like nurture all that. But it feels like music was the start, and then
I think the
art
environment
fell.
more or less have some influence, but not directly like what you experienced when your mother, your sister also artists, and your father's like collector. That's why I think this conversation would be quite inspiring to me as well, because I remember when I knew you, you started Yellow Corner, something like that, or another company to do art and lifestyle, wine as well. And then suddenly you told us, oh, I opened a gallery in Hollywood Road. Oh, I'm doing the post-war French school. I said, is it a convenience to you because you have your legacy through your father, or you really like it?
Yeah, it's a very interesting, because I wondered myself, like, why I waited so long to open a gallery, because now living the life of a gallerist and doing what I do, it feels like, why? This is what's meant to be. It's like, it's my passion. This is what I love to do every day. I wake up, I can feel that no matter what happens around, no matter what the results, I will do that for the rest of my life. This is me. I fusion completely with this world. And I feel I'm so grateful for the fact that I went onto some other entrepreneurship journeys, and I went to Yellow Corner, which is more, I think, art photography, but more retail as a model. I went to wine, which was one of the most important things I got from this is people. You know, it's like people in the wine industry are amazing because they have this humility, and stay close to them is something that you can hold on to you for the rest of your life. So it taught me a lot to properly enter the way I would want to enter into the in the art market. Art market feels it's like this huge wave. Either you surf it, either you're under it, and somehow you're gonna wake up and then you feel, what am I doing? You might lost yourself. So the fact that I entered and I knew exactly who I wanted to be and what I aspired to was the best gift. And then I tried to find the right balance between, I'd say, the heritage, my family, my father, of course, is a big figure within the art and a great relationship with other artists, my sister as an artist, my mom as an artist. I thought this is a big weight, and how to kind of take that as a strength, but at the same time, how to define myself within that ecosystem. And that's an ongoing project. And this is the most beautiful of all, because I can't answer right away, but I can figure it out every day and then define it every day. And that's the pleasure I'm taking it into bringing the new exhibitions, basically.
These 2 years, actually, what you have done changed my perception on you. Because before I thought, Arthur from France, another second generation kid, playboy. Yeah, and we went to Mauritius together, remember? We attended a wedding party with a common friend. And so when you started the Yellow Corner, I still wanted to mention this because you're quite entrepreneurial. But then the last 2 years when you did your gallery, I was convinced. Convinced by your passion, convinced by your vision. But I just want to ask you something quite honest. So you see art as a business or art as a passion? Because on one side, to me, it's purely business.
Yeah.
The prints and then all this like affordable category. Yeah. But then you had masterpieces, like really like important heritage from your family or from your country, maybe. Yeah, so how would you differentiate this?
That's a very good question, and I'm happy I solve it for myself before starting any project that I do. For me, the starting point is the philosophy. If I cannot find...
It's quite confusion, actually, when we are as friend or like a observer. So what do you want to do? You do some affordable thing, and you do art and wine, and then suddenly you tell me you are selling Zhao Qi or Georges Mathieu. So I from the beginning I was a little bit skeptical. Yeah,
of course, and I think that within a smaller time frame, of course, image can be confusing, and always try to set up into the right framework and the right vision. And I think that this is something that it took me a lot of time to realize what every step meant in terms of vision. And for Yellow Corner or for the wine, they all have a specific purpose. But Yellow Corner, for example, is really the democratization of art. I think, of course, there's a sense of business in it, but eventually this is the idea that I wanted to get away from art as a business, actually, from the fact that people collected art right away with a money perspective. And I wanted to look at the photos thinking, if we don't care about the price, then we'll just care about the beauty of what we see. And going back to that kind of emotion. So that was to the wider public into starting very small collections or putting artworks into their home, thinking, let's not care about the money, but let's just care about inspiring ourselves on a daily basis and try to change a little bit our lives, right? So that was for Yellow Corner, but eventually the key for me was, what kind of person do I want to be as a gallerist, as a dealer, and how do I put myself in perspective when I look very long term? And that took me a long time, because it's true that I have very little people to look up to. I mean, I love a lot of things that I see around. I mean, one of your galleries, and I see your proximity with an artist like Hafshasin, and the way you defend artists and the way you promote your exhibitions were really at heart, and I could feel that, and somehow I kind of get, you know, curious and obviously inspired by this. But I knew that I didn't want to do just an exhibition with just you know just normal selling paintings and going one exhibition after the other one and going to fairs. I wanted to create a community. I think that to summarize the ambitions that I have is really to create a community of collectors, of artists that I'm passionate about, that I believe in, and that I can see myself working with for the next 20 years to come, and hopefully that I can call my friends afterwards. This is for me the idea of success. And if you ask me, how comes business into all this, and how comes the money or the transactional part? For me, the business is a fuel. The money and the profits, right, that I create over each exhibition is a fuel to fill in the dreams and to build a bigger community, to reach better collectors and to reach better artists. My dream is to discover the next, Modigliani, Van Gogh, or next Picasso, because at the end, you realize when you look at history, the first guy that did the first Picasso show ever was someone called Ambroise Vollard, and this dealer was not coming from the art world at all. He had a very raw vision about how he saw the world. He was not coming from an academic part, and he just went in and thought with his heart, these are the artists people should know about. And I kind of want to learn about this to be able to, for me, discover amazing artists and build up on that community, right?
Yeah, that's I think is personal vision, yeah, and also passion. Yeah. Especially when you also, or when we also share similar essence when we try to develop our business, because we believe in what we are passionate for, mm-hmm, and we want to build long term. I think, yeah, this is very important. Long term means sustainable. Yeah. Long term also means to really cultivate, not just about, as you mentioned, about money or transaction. It's, mm-hmm, about how you cultivate a community or something that we want to share with our friends and clients or collectors. It's almost like doing art to me is like part of your life as well. You appreciate the culture. You appreciate the aesthetics.
How long have you had? How long have you actually the artist that you represented the longest time? And do you have an example of an artist that you work with that really represent that kind of relationship actually?
Yeah, I think the gallery started 10 years ago. Yeah. So this year actually is our 10th anniversary. So at the moment, we are now having a solo exhibition of a Nanjing artist called Liu Guofu, yeah, which we started almost 9 years ago. Mm-hmm. So I truly appreciate that loyalty and also the time and the effort we spent to build a relationship together. Mm-hmm. I think to us, for myself, to build a collection or to advise a client to collect is also kind of like a responsibility for yourself and also for someone that who trusts you, including the artists as well. Yeah, that's why I'm.
Do you feel the artists changed over the years? Do you think that the request of the artists changed with this new kind of like marketization of the art world?
Yes, definitely, especially in the last 5-10 years, especially in the contemporary art world, because the trends, the development is so fast. And sometimes...
do you have like requests sometimes from artists that doesn't make sense?
No, I would select artists who shared similar passion and also the value. I think that's very important. What you have been doing in the Viewpoint, I believe it's also about how you also try to promote the value. So that value, I don't believe that value should be short-term. That's why when we talk about the long-term value, when we select artists or when we want to work with no matter artists or collectors, they also want to develop a long-term path with us. That's why I personally try to stay away from trends. Yeah, but then to go following my own aesthetic or curatorial vision, which I believe is like a long-term development.
And have you found that hard over the last years compared to before when you started?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely, because the market trend is like in auctions or art fairs, like every 2-3 years, you have something really new to attract your eyeballs or to just make you feel that, I should go to this direction, not that direction. So when I did the contemporary ink promotion, like when I started Ink Asia in 2005, and then when I launched Ink now in 2018, it is, even till now, is not easy because this is not mainstream. Yeah, in a contemporary art world. But to me, this is also representing my cultural identity, also my cultural understanding. That's what I feel I continue to develop or cultivate. And I believe in Asian markets, the aesthetic quality and also the understanding of the similar aesthetic based on our shared cultures will have a much bigger prospects. Same as what you're promoting, like Zhao Baoqi, Zhu Dequn. So they actually, to me, it's really similar to what I believe because they also inspire me a lot. This post-war artist, the mentality, the attitude, or the way they see art as well. Yeah.
And somehow, because I find it very interesting, I always wonder, do you think that the artists are making the market, or do you think that the market are influencing the artists?
I think this is about the whole ecology, the ecosystem. So I think we as a primary market has a very defined role and function. We work with the artists, and then we try to introduce this to the market. Engage the collectors. Or you mentioned about building a community, or to define a voice.
I think that this is key compared to before, right?
Yeah.
I think that the roles are changing. The roles are completely changing. If you realize, auction houses, people forget, also auction houses were a wholesale place. It was a wholesale for professional. And today is aimed at the wider public. The roles completely changing. Management at auction houses are not necessarily collectors. They are business leaders. And so the aim, the objective is, of course, changing with it. Institutions, museums before where, for me, in France, museums are mostly state museums. Now I see that there's 900 private museums in China. There's a lot of private museums in the US. I mean, the people making the art is completely changing the way trends are made. And thus, artists should react. They should be interacting with. And I found it amazing because, when I bring this new artist, Myung-Gi Kong, this Korean artist, in front of my next exhibition, I realized she didn't have a gallery for for a while because she didn't need to have any gallery. She exhibited a lot when she was young.
How did you find her?
And that's the beauty. She's unique. She's a mysterious. She's really like this amazing artist that if you didn't go and see her now, because she's based between Korea and France, so she's in Jeju Island now. She exhibited back in the days. My father got to know her. It was thanks to a poet, and she was doing an exhibition at the time with Roberto Matta and Zaoki, and that was in the 90s. My father was working with Jacques Chirac, and basically they got to know each other thanks to common friends. He right away was fond of her art and started to collect her. And then he was never interested into the market part and whether she had a gallery or she was selling or not, because she didn't need to, and she was really preserving all her art. What I found amazing is that if the market doesn't put a spotlight on artists like that, we would not be able to know more and be enlightened by these artists that, for me, shed a message that is one of the most important messages that I've seen in years. Female artists, Korean, making the bridge between Europe and Asia, working with nature at a moment where people feel lost, where most of the identities are confused. She goes back to this rawness of life, to this authenticity of life, and try to build new connections from nature and our environment. Most of the things that people forget today living in urban places. That is a reminder of what life should be for everyone. And for when you're an art collector, this is the kind of message you want to wake up to in your home, in your bedroom, in your living room. If the market doesn't go to these artists, that's it. And I just find it so fragile. I wonder, like, in your position, you've been there for 10 years. Have you seen artists where you found that same fragility, where it relies just on you, the ability to make them famous or to make them?
To start, our gallery represents artists new or emerging. That's why it takes a lot of time and also thoughts to develop a strategy to build their market. That's why I would say both of our roles actually quite defined and quite special. And also we have our expertise. So I always hope that this expertise will be transformed into a knowledge that we can share with the market and also with the collector. I remember 6-7 years ago when I started to build the chairman's collection for MGM Cotai. I started to build a strategy and then to look for 20th century important Chinese artists. So I always have this name in my mind called Xiaoqing. Yeah, so I didn't know the artist, but I follow this artist's path. So I had the opportunity to go to Taiwan to look for this artist, to talk to him, to commission him to build a big painting for the hotel lobby. So that was the beginning of the journey that I shared with Xiaoqing and the Xiaoqing Foundation. So at that time, I do remember when I finished this commission work, and then the artist invited me, why don't you do something with me in your gallery? And at that time I thought, wow, that was fantastic. So I remember when I selected artworks of the 1960s, the post-war artwork. And then he said, oh, Calvin, you should not select these artworks because you lose money if you select these artworks because no one understood the history. I said, no. Give me a chance to redo everything, start from the scratch. So I started to take out the history and then to learn about the 20th century, post-war history. Then I've gone through the whole kind of like this 6-7 years journey. Is amazing. And also reposition the artist to rediscover his importance, significance, or values. So I think to us, this also becomes kind of like a knowledge and expertise that we share to the market. And I gain a lot of trust from the collectors through these projects because I'm almost like going against the trends.
Yeah, exactly. And for me, this is really what I'm proud of to do in terms of, I think, what the role should be. shed light on periods, on artists, on certain paintings that people maybe might have forgotten. And for example, even a first exhibition, right? I bring an exhibition about Zhaoqi. Everyone knows Zhaoqi, of course. How can I bring an exhibition that will bring light into a perspective, an aspect that people didn't know? Most people don't regard or don't know as much the 2000s, the year his paintings at the end, because they always ask for the 50s and the 60s. I found it fascinating to work on this period because it didn't go as much in museums, and we have been able, with my father, to work a lot on study, and we realize it's like the nymphéas for Monet. At the beginning, no one wanted the nymphéas, and now everyone prays for the nymphéas. It's like the Musketeers for Picasso. It's just because we need more time, we need more effort to be spent on certain periods. And for Zhaoqi, when you look at the 2000s, people say it's happy, it's nice. It's much more than that. It's a liberation, it's the synthesis, it's the ultimate reconciliation with with China. And for me, this work really feels like bringing value. And most people ask me, and I'm wondering what the pandemic have taught you in your part. But for me, the pandemic is really this capacity to bring meaning, to bring more value. What is not just doing an exhibition to sell paintings. What is the message that we want to send? What do people want to remember after we do an exhibition? And I think that writing books, we have guided tours for exhibition, making salon, or I know you do debates as well. I mean, bringing meaning is difficult, but I wonder how you do it for yourself as well.
Well, I think we do similar things. Yeah. But different contexts, of course, yeah. But when you do Zhaoqi or post-war in Hong Kong, so your collectors based on, most of your collectors based in Hong Kong, or you also have your French clients or all over?
Yeah, all over. It's really worldwide, and actually, Americans everywhere. And the interest was amazing. Zhaoqi has a really international collector base. The fact that he's one of the only one, born in China, went into Europe, and then went a long time, several times into the US, had this American gallery, the Kutz Gallery in New York, really made him an important artist and really inspired him also in his art. So he made this reconciliation with the different regions, and then collectors are the rendezvous. They're really international. So the feedback that we had and the interest was also international, and that we were very happy of. And of course, trying to kind of move lines. And then the next step for me is do museum shows, in China, in places where they still didn't have the ability to see those artworks.
Yeah, museum show is important. I recently just having a museum show for Shaoqing in Beijing, his own museum, and this is also the perfect way to educate the markets. I don't know how you feel the Asian collectors, and to me, it is quite a new area for us to cultivate this collectors market. You mentioned about auction house, so I think we have a very different dimension when we present our arts and when we build our collector base, and then when we try to. So it's interesting. I also come across with different sort of clients, like last generation and new generation. So in between, so we had to. You have to communicate with them quite differently, and that's why I would say, I don't know in France very much, but I found developing the art market in Asia, in Chinese-speaking territories, I think we do have we are now in a very good timing to try to open up this new arena, to not teach, to share the expertise on how to build a collection based on personal vision, but at the same time can also consider this as like a long-term legacy.
I wonder about that. Do you feel that what is the most important for you? Like, you have your gallery and then you have your personal collection. First, are they the same? And do you feel that the legacy of your gallery is more important than your collection? How do you, and art,
I try to differentiate quite cleally. Yeah.
So they're different artists.
Yeah. Before I set up a gallery, I didn't think I would develop this business because this is my pure own personal passion or hobby, and that's why I also reminded myself I can continue to collect what I like. It's not about business, but at the same time I built the gallery business while I also physically collect my artist work as well as a support, and also as also a gesture to give confidence to our collectors, because I personally also love their works, collect their works, and continue to promote their works. And that's why. And you
because then it means that you have art. You have some artists that you have exhibitions of, but you don't have any paintings.
Yeah.
Because for me, then I'm like, I'm different from this point of view, because
like
I would never be able to do that. Like Georges Mathieu.
Like Georges Mathieu.
Exactly, Georges Mathieu is very interesting, right? Yeah. You're a strong believer of Jean Mathieu since the beginning. And then for me, if I collect it personally, then I want to share it. And share it it's true that I feel now, this is why it's not business, it's more of a project. My project is a passion. If it is, and I need to share that with the collectors. And I feel that even within the business model, I don't want to be the one making money out of selling artworks. I want to make money out of finding the artists that I believe in, sharing with the collectors that I know, and growing collections together as a community. This is how I see my value, and this is what I found interesting. So I can't separate the two. And for me, the most important is that tomorrow we just look back and we feel that we participated into growing together.
Here we have different positioning. Yeah. So we have living artists. Most of our artists, living artists. I mean, in the gallery. Correct me if I'm wrong. So I saw your gallery. So you had a lot of master artists who passed away. Yeah. So that's why I think that's the difference. So if you have your own kind of like a group of artists that you need to promote, cultivate, support them. So that's quite different, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you are going to also represent some living artists. I mean, the Korean artists, of course, yeah. Will you continue to expand this artist roster, or?
Yeah, and I found the perfect, for me, the perfect philosophy for me, because I thought, how can I do a project that is myself, and I can represent this diversity that I have in the way I look at my collection and the art. And I realized, just start from the approach that it has to be organic. It has to be obvious. I have to start from the fact that I'm a collector. We are a family of collectors, and we collect young, we collect Asian, we collect, tomorrow Mexican, Korean. We don't have any borders. And we create artists that are past, and we engage conversations with, and then we think we can bring spotlight in. We of course want to nurture relationships with artists that are living. And I think it's all of them at the same time. We cannot do exhibitions of all of them at the same time. So the idea is each exhibition needs to be really coherent and represent a very strong belief, a very strong message of what it means for us to collect these artists. And so this is why we are really taking our time, and we are going slow. We have this 6 months exhibition that allow us to invest a lot into the story and the curation. So yeah, we are like a gallery that is made by collectors, for collectors, really with this idea that we want to be free. And then it's true, I arrived in the art world and I felt you have to tick a certain number of boxes, for you to be a gallerist. And then depending on how many boxes and the level that you have will put you a position in the fair. And then that will determine if you're successful or not. I really felt that, right? And I felt like, sorry, but I want to do something completely different.
Yeah.
Not better, not worse. This is completely different. That represents who we are and invent the way forward. Because this is what the whole fun is about.
Exactly.
Right?
Yeah.
So I feel like maybe for you it's been
Similar,
the same.
actually,
You feel you're inventing your future all the time, right?
Exactly. So sometimes when we do art, you have to you cannot just follow the trend. You just create your own trends. Yeah. And you mentioned about organic. When we collect, we start from purely just passion, very organically. But then when I build up the collection, then I become more like systematic and more like professional to try to define how to manage the collection as well. Yeah. And which will include selecting like artists and begin to streamline as well. And that's why this is also the way we try to, on one hand, to build our own collection, but at the same time, to be also responsible for myself as well. Mm-hmm. So eventually, when you collect more and more, you want to also, in future, you have to think about, so what do you do with this collection? Mm-hmm. So you donate or you sell or what? So at the moment, I don't have an answer.
You don't have an answer.
I don't have an answer yet. But that's why it's more now is also the timing for me to now become a curator, art consultant, or gallerist, then try to also put this expertise to do my own project. Yeah. So now I changed a little bit the mentality in the last few years, and to set my collection as part of my project as well. Uh-huh. So then to run it.
So you're now changing with the.
Yeah, have a little bit more.
Changing a little bit the model. What I love is that I know that you're getting into the British modern art, and this is something that I love, and I've been very interested in, because I don't think that there is enough. Promotion or interest into it, and I think that there were fantastic artists, especially into this part of UK, which is the Cornwall and
there's another amazing journey. Even though during the pandemic, so we signed up three British artists estates like Terry Frost. And then
St. Ives artists.
St. Ives, Cornwall. So actually, they're pretty new in Asia, and I also found, hey, the French already quite expensive and already defined the market, the post-war market, but how about the British art? We have a gallery in London as well. Yeah. That's why we have the opportunity to get into the market and to absorb the resources. And I personally really appreciate the British art. That's why I thought about, why don't I just bring it to Asia and then to do some kind of like conversations, not necessarily just purely coming here and then to sell, but I think it's also a process to do education as well, and to also recall the unique positioning of Hong Kong in the international art market. So in the last few months, I remember every time in the media interview, they always talk about the Hong Kong market. And now we are in Hong Kong market. And I think we are very unique in this market. No matter we build a business or we build the art collection, we could be quite open-minded, and because there are still a lot of rooms to grow in this market, because especially for the majority of collectors from mainland China or from Greater China regions, collecting art is still quite young in this area, especially when we talk about modern and contemporary art. I don't know how you feel, because you have been working here for a few years. And how do you feel? Is it the dynamics is really different between Chinese and Europeans?
I think that we're seeing some now bridging and connection. I don't know, maybe you feeling it as well in terms of the collections that have been created. Some collections are very picky and very determined about finding exactly the paintings that they want. Some are more surfing on the trend of wanting the brands, the big artists that everyone knows, and have the collection that everyone could dream of somehow. I'm very interested in those specialists, and I want to nurture more those collector specialists that will focus on a few artists, that will know really well those artists, and then we can have amazing debates about very specifics, part of their work, about the whole, someone like Zaoki, for example, ink, and the influences of calligraphy, or it could be for Mathieu a specific period. I like to go deeper into people's understanding of the artists that they collect, and then grow bigger collection, because this is how I think that you build legacies. Among the collectors that I think will have an important image legacy in the future are the ones that actually changed the game. They shifted the market because they have been able to create collections that no one else could. Yeah. And the truth is, create a collection where there will be a Picasso, a Monet, and a couple of other famous artists. It's a lot of people that have money can afford it. Yeah. The question is, and I always say this to the collectors, is try to make collections that you cannot buy with just money. And these collections will remain. These collections will be interesting for museums, and museum will come to you because you will have artworks that are impossible to get, yes, not just because you could buy them. And this is what I'm trying to promote and put forward.
I like this very much. Yeah. Also, in art world, we still have the money can buy experience. Yeah. Totally. Yeah. So I guess that we'll see how it goes, and obviously we'll see each other at the fair at Basel. Definitely.
I wanted to, of course, thank very much all the public, and hope to see the collectors and amateurs of art at the fair.
Thanks for watching.
Thank you.
Yeah.